Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah wa barakatuh. The flat panel TVs that they have today are LEDs, light emitting diodes. Prior to these TVs, they had what they called plasma TVs, and they were a little bit different technology, and they had a quality to them that if you left a certain scene on for too long a period of time, it would create an image into the screen that couldn't be taken out of it. It kind of froze an image into the screen. It burned an image into the screen. It's like that in our minds. We go through life and we have certain situations that occur to us, certain situations that we are involved in that have an extraordinary effect on us. And because of this extraordinary effect, it burns an image into our mind, and we don't seem to be able to escape from this image. And we have more than one of them. From the time that we're children, we continue to have experiences. We continue to have things happen to us that cause us to fixate on certain things external to us that influence dramatically our behavior. And anytime we run into a similar situation, we react similarly to the way we reacted when this thing initially happened to us. This is part of what we call attachment. This is what we call being stuck in certain places and being in a situation where we relive over and over and over the same situation. A divorced person may carry their ex with them everywhere they go. So they've never really gotten divorced. They've never really gotten separated. And it's like that with all of our traumas and all of our difficulties, and even a lot of our perceived happinesses. We hold on to them as if they still exist. In truth, every time we look out, it's a new moment. And unless we are clear of our past, clear of all the shadows of our past, we are unable to take on that new moment. We are unable to be involved in that new moment. For instance, we are told that we are supposed to do 5 times prayer a day. Now, the object of praying is to somehow create a space that is outside of our everyday life, wherein we have separated a time for our relationship with our Lord, and we concentrate on our Lord. We concentrate on making a connection with our Lord. But if you are carrying visions of your past and they are overwhelming you, you are not clear enough to be able to concentrate on your Lord because you're too busy concentrating on what happened in the past, that which is troubling you from the past, that which is causing you distress from the past. So what happens is you have this layer of the past, and then you have the recitation going on top of it at the same time. Because you've memorized the prayers, you can still recite them, but you don't feel them. They don't touch you. You aren't at a state where there is a true connection. We need to become tranquil in order for our prayers to have sincerity. We need to become tranquil in order for our prayers to have a connection between ourselves and our Lord. If we do not get into that state of tranquility, we are not able to truly pray. So understand that in order to get to a place of true prayer, we have to be able to release ourselves from all of the thoughts and images and hypnotisms and torpors that follow us through our life. We have to be able to release ourselves from our past and from the things that we hold on to. We have to release ourselves from our angers. We have to release ourselves from our animosities. We have to release ourselves from our jealousies. We have to release ourselves from all of the things that stop us from being clear, from being pure, from being tranquil. To get into this state where we are in harmony with what we're actually doing, lots of things have to go on within us that normally wouldn't go on within us. We have to be able to endure things that we wouldn't usually endure. We have to be able to forgive things that we wouldn't usually forgive. We have to be able to tolerate things that we usually wouldn't tolerate. We have to be able to love things that we wouldn't usually love. Love is like a stream that runs through us. Love is like a cleansing process. In the same way that when you go to a stream and a clean stream, and you wash yourself in the water within that stream, and that water cleanses you, love will cleanse you in the same way. If we enter into a state of unconditional love, then some amazing things happen to us. The things that we hate dissipate. The things that we're angry at dissipate. The people who we can't abide all of a sudden have no influence on us. We don't carry them with us anymore. We now are in a state of cleansing, and love is that scrubber, that great cleansing that releases us from all of the attachments that we have that keep us from being in a state of harmony and in a state of happiness and in a state of purity. When we associate with other people, their nature has an influence on us. Now, all of us are aware, and we need to understand that we are physically made up of elemental forces. And we have all of these elements and emotions running within us. As we interact with other physical beings, there is a transfer of resonance. And unless you are very powerful, their resonance will have an effect on you. So a joyous person can bring joy to the life of other people. An angry person can bring anger to the life of other people. A loving person can bring love into the life of other people. Our associations and the people that we associate with have a great influence on us and on our state of harmony. If we are with people who are constantly angry, it will be difficult to maintain a state of love and a state of harmony within our own being. It's very important to maintain this state of harmony in our own being in order to make progress towards the truth. So we have to each individually be very careful about who our companions are, who we spend our time with. And we have to know that if we spend our time with positive people, it will be easier for us to stay positive. At the coming of the people from Mecca into Medina, the Prophet tried to create an atmosphere amongst all of them where they would be kind and loving towards each other. Because of the nature of the Prophet and his overwhelming kindness and generosity, both sides picked up on his attitude and were then able to display that attitude towards each other. And there's a story about how that happened and how it began to grow. The people in Medina said that they would like to share their date fields with the people who came from Mecca on the journey towards Medina. And the people from Mecca said they didn't know much about farming. What could they do? And the people from Medina said, we'll share the harvest with you. You just take care of watering the plants. We'll take care of everything else. When it came time to divide the harvest, the people in Medina, because of their overwhelming warmth and love, decided that they should figure out a way that the people from Mecca could get most of the harvest. So they made two piles of dates. One pile had dates that were all taken off the branches. The other pile had dates that were still on the branches. So the pile with the branches was much higher than the pile without the branches, the dates that have been taken off the branches. The people from Medina thought that the people from Mecca would take the smaller pile. And in fact, that's what happened. The people from Mecca took the smaller pile, ending up with a larger portion of the harvest, which was the intention of the people from Medina. They had given the people from Mecca a larger share of the harvest because of their kindness towards them and because of the feeling that was generated by the Prophet towards everybody within the community. One person within a community who has that generosity of spirit, that generosity of heart, that generosity of love can influence an entire community to have that generosity of spirit and that generosity of heart, and can soothe so many hearts. It was like that with our Sheikh. His love was so great that we who came before him fell in love with people we didn't know, that we had never met before, that we had never had contact with before. But because of his generosity of spirit, his generosity of heart, his love that continued to flow like a river, made it possible for us to become tranquil and harmonious by being in his presence. The resonance of his harmony, the resonance of his tranquility, the resonance of his love was so powerful that it brought us into a state of love and of kindness. And it did more than that. It made us become aware of what it takes to be in a loving state and what it's like not to be in a loving state. And because we became aware of that, we were able to watch our own actions, watch our own activities, and be able to determine the state that we were in. And if our state was off, we were able to make corrections because now we had a touchstone that showed us what that state should be. And if our state fell away from that, we were able to correct it, to come into line with harmony and into line with what was appropriate behavior. The sheikhs always had a way of knowing what was appropriate and how to show it to other people. There was a sheikh who used to work with his group, with his dervishes, in the fields. And the dervishes, because the sheikh was so old, would run in front of the sheikh and do all of his work for him. And after a couple of days of this, the sheikh locked himself in his room and wouldn't allow anybody in. And they couldn't understand what was wrong. And he wouldn't allow food in, he wouldn't allow water in, he wouldn't allow anything in. Finally, they busted open his door and they said, "Sheikh, you can't go on like this. What is going on?" He said, "No work, no food." He wasn't going to allow himself to be treated any differently than the rest of the dervishes in his dargah were treated. They worked and they got food. He was going to work and he got food. He didn't create a separation between them and himself. He consistently insisted on there being an equanimity amongst all of them and on the way that they did things and in the way that they were. Can we create that same equanimity between ourselves and others? This begins at the home. Can a husband treat his wife as an equal? Can a wife treat her husband as an equal? Can they reach a point where each of them shows kindness and tolerance towards each other? Everything starts in the home. Everything starts at that basis. If there is tolerance in the home, there will be tolerance in the world. If there's no tolerance in the home, there won't be tolerance in our interaction with the world. If there is love in the home, there will be love in our interaction with the world. If there's no love in the home, there won't be love in our interaction with the world. So we have to start at the beginning. We have to start at the root of where we live. We have to start at our most basic relationships. And our most basic relationships are our familial relationships. And we have to create peace and kindness and love within the family. And if we can't do that, how are we going to create it outside of the family? Lots of things happen around us, and we react to so many of these things. We have to begin to understand that most of the things that happen to us from the outside are not personal. They're not about us. They don't require a reaction from us as if there is some kind of personal animosity going on towards us. For a while, when I was going to work from Philadelphia to where I was working, it was about an 80-mile drive. And I had a driver who took me because it was almost impossible for me to drive 80 miles one way, go to work, and then drive 80 miles back. The drive alone was more difficult than the day's work. But I had a driver who everything that happened on the road was as if somebody was doing something to him, and he would react. He would react to every person who sped up, every person who slowed down, every person who cut him off. Every single thing that happened, he would react. And not only would he react with the car, he would react verbally, to the point where I, sitting in the back seat, couldn't take it anymore. And I finally had to get rid of this driver, because this constant interaction with everybody, as if they had a personal vendetta against him, made it impossible for me to find any peace on the way to and from work. If we are constantly having interaction with everything that surrounds us, as if somehow it was personal to us, we are going to find that we will have a very hard time finding any peace in our existence, finding any tranquility and or harmony within our existence. We have to be able to go through this world and bypass praise and bypass blame, bypass all of the interactions that are going on as if they were personal to us. This world has existed for a very, very long time. And as we approach scenarios outside of ourselves, as we watch what's going on outside of ourselves, we have to learn not to take them and bring them inside of ourselves. We have to leave them outside of ourselves and leave the inside of ourselves pure. I remember Bawa telling us often and repeating over and over, anytime a big difficulty appeared in the fellowship, he would say, people have brought the world's dilemmas into the fellowship. And one of the things that we need to do is keep the world's dilemmas outside of the fellowship. Allow this to be a place of purity. Allow this to be a place that's clean and free of all of those worldly interferences. We need to be able to be free of all of these interactions with the outside world. If we have malice towards somebody, we carry that malice inside of ourselves. So now, as opposed to walking around in a state of harmony, we are walking around in a state where there is malice inside of us. If we have jealousy of somebody, we are walking around with jealousy inside of us. All of these qualities, anger, animosity, malice, all of them, which we think are being projected towards others, are in fact the poison that we carry inside of ourselves that disrupt our equilibrium and disrupt our harmony and disrupt our own tranquility. So we need to learn to be free of all of these qualities. We need to understand that these qualities look for an object to attach themselves to, but in fact, they are qualities that we should not have inside of ourselves. We don't think of them that way, but in fact, that's what they are. So, what would you allow yourself to eat, for instance? Some of us have become vegetarian, and we keep certain foods outside of our body. There is a whole health food craze going on now where people become incredibly particular about what they eat and what they allow to come into their bodies. Well, it's the same with your emotions and with the qualities that you allow to come into your body. If you allow anger to come into your body, you create stress and anxiety, not for somebody else, but for yourself. This is the time of Ramadan when people are fasting from food. And I remember Bawa saying quite clearly one time, if you can't fast from anger, Allah doesn't need you to fast from food. So we need to be able to fast during this time of Ramadan from malice, from anger, from jealousy, from hastiness, from all of the qualities that don't belong to God. We have to stop them from entering into our being and entering into our body. We have to stop them from becoming part of us. We have to start towards becoming pure. And this should be one of our intentions during this holy month of Ramadan. We should set forth an intention that we will clear our qualities and we will clear them with Allah's love. We will make ourselves pure, we will make ourselves holy, and we will make ourselves receptive to the vibration of truth that is always around us. The vibration of truth can be felt if we are pure enough to feel it. The resonance of truth can be felt by us if we are pure enough to resonate with it. The understanding of tuning an instrument has a lot to do with understanding of resonance. People are constantly trying to tune all of the instruments around them instead of trying to tune themselves. So when we meet somebody and we don't get along with them or we don't like their attitude, we try to tune them in a different way, as opposed to tuning our own tolerance. And this is a great lesson and a great understanding. Always try to tune yourself. Stop trying to tune the rest of the world. First place, there's too many people to tune, and you're never going to be able to do it. But secondly, that isn't how your problems are going to get resolved. Your problems are going to get resolved by tuning yourself to the correct and appropriate resonance. And when you tune yourself to that correct and appropriate resonance, harmony will come in you. And then you're not going to have to tune anybody else. They will tune themselves to you in the way that we began to tune ourselves to the Sheikh when we were in the Sheikh's presence, because we understood that was the right tune. We understood that that was the correct measure of correct behavior and appropriate behavior. So we have to begin to be able to do this. We have to begin to be able to understand that everything starts inside of ourselves. Everything starts internally. It doesn't start externally, and it doesn't have to do with reacting to what's external. We have to react to what's internal. And if we can make ourselves right with the world, the whole world will become right with us. The Quran says that if you save one life in this world, you have saved the entire universe. And the point is that there is this unity that exists among all of us. And if we can bring one being into unity, that is the beginning of bringing all beings into unity. It all starts with one. We have to be the one who makes the commitment to do that. We have to be the one who makes the intention to do that. We have to begin that process, and then the whole world will follow along. This life has a term. It has a time limit. It has a span. All of the things that we love in this world of manifestation are shadows because they have time limits. They disappear. We need to learn to love the things without shadows. We need to learn to love the things that don't disappear. We need to understand the reality of that which is non-manifest. Allah's qualities are not manifest in the elemental way, yet they are manifest in a much more powerful way that overwhelms each and every one of us when we directly touch them. So let us focus on those qualities. Let us understand the nature of those qualities. Let us swallow those qualities into our being. Let those be the focus of our intention. Let those be the focus of our love. Let those be the focus of what it is we wish to accomplish in this world. And if we can accomplish imbibing those qualities and becoming those qualities, then we will have fulfilled the intention of the prophets, the Ketubs, all of the holy ones, and our Lord. So may it be so that we fulfill that intention. Ameen, Ameen. Ya Rabbil Alameen. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah wa barakatuh.